Hey, macro folks, this is Mr. Hooker, and we're about to hit the big three of macroeconomics. So let's get into it. Let's go. So here we go. Um, right into it with a partner with or without technology. They say without technology. Discuss if the U.S. economy is currently experiencing economic boom or an economic recession. I have here the link to the BLS website. So BLS is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So let's talk about this for a moment. I just want everybody to be aware of what has gone on in the past year with this. Some of this you may have seen in the news recently. Um, it's been, it's been a thing. So right after the election, everybody probably knows like Elon Musk created Doge, and they started firing a few people. A number of the people they fired were the statisticians for the government, which was part of the BEA, which were part of the BEA BLS. So we fired a lot of the people that collect the data that we rely on to give us information about how the economy is doing. Those people got fired within like the first 3 weeks of the new presidency, or within 3 weeks of like Doge. Um, and then about 2 months ago, 2 or 3 months ago, an unemployment report came out, and if you saw that news, Trump didn't like the report. He thought it was unfair to him, whatever it was. He fired the head of the BLS, um, and just like, yeah, you're fired. Uh, get out. I don't like the numbers you gave me. Get out. So, so yeah, that was 2 months ago. Last month, um, last month's report came out. The U.S. added 22,000 jobs, which is abysmal. In the new economy, we should add somewhere between 100,000 and 150,000 jobs. So pre 2008, which is the old economy, we were supposed to be able to add, we needed to add 250,000 plus jobs every month, or we weren't meeting what we needed to replace everybody that retired, died, or just left the economy. So now in the new economy, we have to add 100 to 150,000 jobs to replace everybody that retires, dies, or just leaves the economy. There you go. So we added 22,000 jobs last month. Uh, and and this is darn near criminal, they revised everything back for a year. Like revising for 3 months is normal. You normally are revising back 3 months. They revised back for 12 months and said their numbers were bad for 12 months. Um, how do you do that and say that that's what you do for a living? I have no idea. Um, so that means the numbers were bad all the way back into Biden's era. It's crazy. Um, I don't know how much to tell you about that. I don't know what to tell you about all that. Um, so yeah, they did that. But they revised 900 and something thousand jobs out of the economy. Take from that what you will. So if you were not following the news and you did not see all that, welcome to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the BLS website. The website address, if you want it, because I've already got it pulled up, is bls.gov. So here we go. So we're just going to get out of that, go to this, and here we are, bls.gov, U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. This is what it looks like when you get into it. Um, can I move me? So I'm going to move me to this top right corner here because I want you to see what's coming. So here in the middle, you can look at everything by region. So we're going to be in the Midwest region, but you can, if you're interested in other regions, you can look at other regions. You can choose a state. So you could go Midwest and then choose a state, yada, yada, and choose Iowa and do that and look at it. So it's fine. You can do all of that. We have the CPI calculator that will come in handy in future chapters, or if you're just interested, like how much $100 was, if $100 was something, and it should go back a good ways. Oh, hooker. So you can take that all the way back to 1913 and find out how much buying power that has today. The one thing I want you to see though is right here on the right. These are your latest numbers. So these every month, these numbers get updated. Um, these are your economic numbers that we report to the press. If you want to know what the numbers are rather than reading press releases, here they are, ladies and gentlemen. Right here on the BLS website on a handy dandy little thing on the right. The Consumer Price Index, what is that? That is your inflation number. So we were up 0.4% in August. Unemployment rate, how many people are unemployed, and we'll talk about how that's calculated later. That is 4.3%. Payroll employment, this is a different calculation of unemployment. We'll talk about this later, but there are multiple ways to calculate unemployment. One, we just call people and say, hey, how many people you got in the house, how many people have jobs, yada, yada, yada. Right? How old are they? The other, if you have a job, you know how this works. You pay taxes, and those taxes go to the federal government. So we just count up all the people that are paying taxes. Now, that one misses a lot of people because you've got self-employed people that don't pay taxes but quarterly, and so as new businesses start, we miss some people. So it's not quite as uh, accurate. But as I just mentioned before I got to this, we only added 22,000 people to payrolls this month. So it's a little sad. Might make you cry if you're an economist. Almost brought a tear to my eye, and I'm not even a macroeconomist. Average hourly earnings went up a dime, which is awesome if you are getting paid. Producer price index. Now, this is what we call a leading indicator. So, this is what producers are paying for the resources they use to make the goods that you and I buy. So, if this goes up any significant amount, and by the way, 0.1% and going down 1.1% isn't significant enough for them to lower consumer price index. But if it goes up or down any significant amount, it will change consumer price index in 6 months or further out. So 6 to 9 months later, you will feel it in consumer price index because it takes time to get from them to you. So there's a time lag in that. All right. So that's how that one works. 0.1%, nobody cares. They're just going to put that money in their pocket. It would have to be zero point 0.3 or greater. And yeah, that ain't enough. Employment cost index. How much does it cost to hire new employees? People move jobs often. It costs a lot of money to hire new people. So the more people move jobs, the higher this goes. So that is up 0.9% in the second quarter of 2025, which is, I've seen worse, but that is still kind of high. That is costing businesses money. So the higher that is, let me just point this out, the higher that is, the less money they can put into other things. So just a piece. Productivity, which is beautiful because we, the United States, are a very productive nation. It does not matter how many people we have. They will work us to the bone and we are productive. So productivity, even with less people, went up 3.3% in the second quarter of 2025. The last two are somewhat tied. It's the import price index and the export price index. You want to look at them together. Import price index is how much more or less we paid for goods that were made elsewhere that we bought here in the United States. Export price index is how much more or less we paid for the goods we made here but sold to other countries. So the import price index went up by 0.3%. The export price index went up by 0.3%, which means it's net zero, which is awesome. There's no gain, no loss. If you want it, you want the export price, if you want anything, you want the export price index to go up more than the import price index. That's basically the win for us. The other thing I'm just going to point out, I'm not going to go deep into it, but I just want to point it out because it's right here on the bottom of your screen, the Occupational Outlook Handbook. if you know what you want to be when you grow up, click on that. I recommend going down here to the A to Z index, click on whatever it is, whatever letter it starts. Like if you want to be an accountant, click on A. If you want to be an economist, click on E. If you want to be an engineer, click on E. Civil engineer, click on C. If it's mechanical engineer, click on M. But click on it, take a look at it. It will give you the 10-year outlook for the job you have. It'll tell you a lot of different things. You can also go here and look at the highest paying jobs, the fastest growing jobs, the most new jobs, all those different things. So it's one of those things that's kind of interesting to do. We will come back to the NBER. That is a later thing. Okay. So current slide. So macroeconomics is different than microeconomics because it focuses on the behavior of the economy as a whole. So if you looked at it like a forest, microeconomics is the tree, macroeconomics is the forest, right? Micro focuses on decisions made by individuals and firms. Macro is the economy of all individuals and all firms. So this is my phone, okay? The mouse. I am on a laptop. In micro, we would look at the market for laptops. That's it. One laptop, one person, right? In macro, we'll look at laptops, my mouse, phones. I've also got a USB drive, a thing that holds multiple USB drives. I've got a water cup here. We'll look at all of those all at once, put them all together, and call that an aggregate market. So we'll look at everything all at once, go, including my chair, my other computer over here from the school, all of that all at once. So difference between micro and macro. Micro would ask, should I go to business school or take a job right now? Macro would say, how many people are employed? What determines the salary Google offers? And what determines the overall salary levels paid to workers in a given year? So I don't care what your salary is. I want to know what the average salary is. What determines the cost to a university or college of offering a new course? And then macro asks, what determines the overall level of prices in the economy? Micro asks, what government policies should be adopted to make it easier for low-income students to attend college? Macro asks, what government policies should be adopted to promote employment and growth in the economy as a whole? So you get the idea. You can go through and read them all if you want. The slides are in the course. So for macro, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. You can't simply add up the micro questions to get the macro answers. We look at the paradox of thrift, where people are worried about economic hard times, they prepare by cutting their spending. That actually ends up saving less. It's a weird thing, right? We'll look at that later. You have to understand a few variables as far as income, consumption, and saving. So we'll look at the paradox of thrift later, um, because basically it just becomes a downward spiral. Um, so it just becomes a terrible, terrible thing. So, but the paradox of thrift just basically says that in an economy with a fixed income, as you increase your savings, you decrease your consumption, which means in round two, you have less income, more saving, less consumption. Round three, you have less income, more savings, less consumption. And in the end, after many rounds, you had less savings. You'd have been just better off saving the same, not raising your savings. So where did this all come? Pre-1930s, there was no such thing as macroeconomics. Macroeconomics didn't become a thing until the Great Depression. Okay? And that became so because of John Maynard Keynes. Um, so pre-1930s, it was just microeconomics, and it was pretty much all just what they call classical economics. And the idea was um, the market will self-regulate over time. So we will always come back to equilibrium. Don't worry about it. So problems like unemployment would be corrected through working through the visible hand of Adam Smith, and government interventions would probably make things worse. Then the Great Depression happened, and you can actually go back to economic journals in the 1930s and see people from Harvard and Yale writing articles telling people just keep doing what you're doing. We will get back to equilibrium, just keep spending. But Keynes, John Maynard Keynes said that doesn't happen. In the long run, we're all dead. The government has to step in, spend money to make this right. So they have to do monetary policy and fiscal policy. Monetary policy, which we'll discuss later, is the change in quantity of money to alter interest rates, which affects spending, and fiscal policy is taxing government spending to affect overall spending. So so Keynes established the idea that managing the economy is a government thing. He's the one that established basic macro policy. This is where we're going to stop. I know we didn't get deep into it, but we did a bunch of other things. So this is where we'll stop for video one.